Recently, we were joined by head coach Seb Hines. Washington coming to town on Saturday. Just give us your thoughts about that kind of matchup.
It's always a good matchup against Washington. We've established some sort of like rivalry now, which is always great to be involved in. Two teams that have had a lot of success in the last couple of years, and we're looking to bounce back from a disappointing result against Louisville. Being back home in front of our own fans is always important, and we have to make sure that we put a show on.
Cool. Thank you. Go else.
Kind of in the response to last game, what have you kind of seen on film that has stood out to you heading into this game?
I think after each game, it's been good and bad. I think we're a little bit inconsistent with the results. Obviously 2 wins, 2 draws, and 2 defeats. But we're moving in the right direction. We're creating a lot of opportunities. We're getting in good areas. We're talking about now fine margins and executing in those moments to put the ball in the back of the net. At the other side, we don't want to give teams any opportunities either. And the slow start to the second half, made it a mountain to climb. And we got close, but not quite close enough. And so just the fine margins, need to refine those moments, a little bit more intensity after we lose the ball to negate any sort of transition moments, which are going to be important going into the game against Washington, because that's one of their biggest threats, and then execute in the attacking third.
I guess with the response that you had from the team, in coming back from deficit twice in that last game, how important is it to start off on the right foot, take the advantage, and then control the game?
Yeah, goals change games, and I think we started the game well. I think we created some opportunities. We were unfortunate not to get a penalty in that moment, and some refs give it, some refs don't give it, and that can change the whole trajectory of the game if you go 1-0 up and they push a little bit more, they're more aggressive, and it creates more space for us to transition into, and you've got a foundation to hold on to. So yeah, we have to execute as well in those moments. We've fought back, even to the last minute. We win ourselves a corner and the ref calls game after that, and so there's a lot of frustration with it, but we'll always give it a go. If we're a couple of goals down or 1 goal down, we're always going to go to the final whistle.
You and Washington know each other very well at this point. A lot of history that has been built up over the last couple of years. How much does that kind of play into this game? With the intensity that both teams will come out with.
Yeah, I think you're looking at 2 teams that are hoping to go on to lift a shield, a championship towards the end of the year, and these games matter, and especially at home in front of our own fans, we know how hostile it can be for the away team, and it's no different for a team like Washington. We want to create that atmosphere, make it intense, make it intimidating, and it's a collective effort from everyone. So yeah, with Washington, they've been very close in recent years. They're probably wanting to change that perception of actually lifting a trophy, and so we have to stop that. And these games matter, especially at home. And yeah, we want to bounce back from the last week's result.
What have you kind of seen from Washington this year compared to recent years when you played them?
Yeah, I think they had a slow start to the year. Lots of draws. They've found some form now, and should be full of confidence going into the game, after a 4-0 victory against Kansas, which we know is always difficult. But I think it's more about us now. I think, how do we bounce back after a disappointing result? Not performance. I thought the performance was good, but, you never want to go back-to-back losses, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to bounce back into this game on Saturday.